our studios in Lincoln. 1011 News at 5:30 starts now.
The robbery from this morning, it does appear that the weapon was loaded. So we're thankful that no one did wind up getting hurt as a result of it.
14 days, 12 unsolved robberies. But tonight, Lincoln police say they've nabbed the man believed to be responsible. The top story on 1011 News at 5:30. Good evening, everyone. I'm Owen Jensen.
And I'm Bridget Fargent. Tonight, police and business owners are relieved a suspected robber can no longer terrorize people in Lincoln.
This morning, Lincoln police arrested 32-year-old David Burley. Police say he's still being questioned, but he will face 12 robbery charges and 12 charges of use of a weapon to commit a felony. Officers also arrested 19-year-old Kelly Smith of Central City and 38-year-old Ramon Ford of Grand Island. They face 5 charges each of aiding and abetting a robbery.
Now, we've told you about the robberies since the very first one on January 26th at the Howard Johnson Hotel. The robberies are dotted all over Lincoln, spanning 14 days. Sonic, Subway, the Holiday Inn Express, TNT Vapors, Dairy Queen, De Leon's, Quick Shop, Lamar's Donut, Russ's Market, and then the 2 this morning, the Motel 6 and the Egg and I. Each time, police say Burley had his face covered and had a gun. Police say at the Sonic, he put an employee in the cooler. At Lamar's, employees told 1011 they hid in a bathroom and called 911. And at Russ's Market, LPD had help from the U.S. Marshals, and they say they almost had him before he took off in the snow.
As for the 2 today, the first happened at 2:48 this morning at the Motel 6 near 27th and I-80. Police say Burley robbed the employee at gunpoint, took off. Police called in a K-9, tracking him to a nearby parking lot where LPD says Burley got away in a car.
Now, 4 hours later, police say Burley struck again at the Egg and I near 70th and A Street. LPD says he came through the back employee entrance and held an employee at gunpoint. That's when he got into the safe. Police say he then put several employees in the bathroom and sprayed them with mace. There were also 4 people in the restaurant.
Of course, it took a huge effort to track down Burley and piece together how all these robberies could be connected.
A total of 24 officers and investigators worked around the clock, with it all coming together early this morning. 1011's Amanda Saltero begins our team coverage. She's live with the details. Amanda?
Bridget and Owen, police say it only took 44 minutes for officials to arrest David Burley from the time that he robbed the Egg and I at gunpoint until he came here to the Starlight Motel.
We have officers that were staking out different places.
In their investigation, police thought David Burley was living here at the Starlight Motel. Sunday morning, they were watching to see if he came back.
He did show up shortly after the robbery this morning. Officers observed him in some similar clothing that the robber at the Egg and I was wearing. They went up and made contact with him. Located in a Volkswagen Jetta that he had been driving was a .22 caliber handgun as well as a can of mace.
LPD says the investigation is ongoing, but officers believe Ramon Ford was helping Burley. Police say Ford was staying at the Motel 6 that was robbed early Sunday morning.
He was assisting David in identifying some of the locations and taking some of the proceeds from the robbery.
Investigators are now working on getting more search warrants and interviewing people to link these 12 robberies together.
We'll be doing some more in-depth interviews with some of the victims. We'll also conduct some searches through search warrants on some of the vehicles that he had access to, as well as a search warrant in the hotel rooms where he may have been staying, as well as we'll be interviewing individuals that are associated with those hotels that may be able to provide some additional information, their comings and goings, things of that nature.
Now, police say they did find stolen bank bags from the Egg and I here at the Starlight Motel, and 1011's Taylor Barth is with me, and she spoke with Burley's neighbors. Taylor, what did they have to say?
Yeah, people here tell me Burley was actually staying in room 9 here at the Starlight. I spoke with people staying right next door. They tell me they didn't notice anything suspicious during Burley's stay, but they do say they are thankful police caught him. Both neighbors say they realized police were staking out the hotel around at 9 a.m. this morning. I spoke with a man staying at the hotel named Dennis. Dennis tells me he ran into one guy last night who went into Burley's room with 2 women who appeared to be in their 20s. Dennis didn't think anything of it.
I was coming back from the store and turned the corner around my car and shook hands with the guy and everything. Seemed like a pretty decent fella, and Next thing I know, the whole house is bombarded by cops.
It gets really loud. And so I heard a bunch of talking, and so I looked out my window, and that's when I saw all the police out here, and there was a officer's car right here, and they had a bunch of bags on top of the car, and so I had to, of course, be nosy and look and see what was going on.
Now, workers tell me Burley had been staying here for 4 nights, but the woman I spoke with says he's been here at least a week because she noticed his silver car was parked here. Now, be sure to watch 1011 News tonight at 10 for more reaction from people staying here at the Starlight Motel, as well as any interaction they had with Burley during his stay. Reporting live in Lincoln, Taylor Barth, 1011 News.
All right, Taylor and Amanda, thank you very much for those reports. Well, once officers arrested David Burley, we dug into his past to find out if he had a criminal history.
Lincoln police say they only had one incident in 2009 when officers arrested Burley on assault charges. 1011's Lauren Scott is live in the newsroom. Lauren.
Well, Bridget and Owen, that's not the case in Hall County. Grand Island Police and Sheriff deputies are very familiar with Burley. In fact, while police say he was robbing businesses in Lincoln, court documents show he had a warrant for his arrest in Grand Island. The most recent is a December 10th incident when Hall County says Burley has stolen property. He faces a felony and 2 misdemeanors in that case still pending. But Burley's court records date back to 1998 when he was a minor. Court records show he was arrested twice in 2004 and 2005 for driving with a suspended license. Both times it shows warrants were issued for his arrest. 2005 also shows he pled guilty to theft by unlawful taking. In 2006, court records show he pled guilty to misdemeanor trespassing charges. The same year, it shows he pled guilty to driving with a suspended license and possession of marijuana. He was fined and sentenced to a year in jail. In 2011, documents say he was charged with viewing a person undressing. He pled no contest and was served 30 days in jail. Right now, there's no telling how these charges will affect the pending county case. Also, no word yet from LPD or Lancaster County as to when we can expect to see Burley make his initial court appearance on his most recent charges. Reporting live in the newsroom, Lauren Scott, 1011 News.
All right, thank you very much, Lauren. And tonight at 10, hear from a business owner whose restaurant was robbed at gunpoint and her reaction to hearing police caught the suspect.
If you've missed any of our coverage or you're just joining us now, head to 1011now.com or our 1011 News mobile app. There you can watch reports and read more about each of the 12 robberies.
The Husker women go up against the top team in the Big Ten. Highlights versus Maryland are coming up in sports.
Plus, a family asks for your prayers as they wait to learn more about their daughter, an American hostage held by ISIS terrorists. We'll have more on that story later in the show. Right now to Skyview we go. A gorgeous Sunday it was in the capital city. A lot of that snow has melted into the warm February sun. So what's the start of your work week looking like? We're back with that in a moment. Now you guys.
From our studios in Lincoln, 1011 News at 10 starts now.
Watch out for potholes on your morning commute. There's a lot of them and they can be deep. What the city's doing.
What were firefighters from all over the country doing in Kearney today? The answer, learning new skills that could one day save your life.
After 12 unsolved robberies in 2 weeks, police say this suspect's luck ran out. Tonight, businesses breathe a sigh of relief. It's our top story on 1011 News at 10. Good evening, I'm Bridget Farjan.
Hi everyone, I'm Owen Jensen. 44 minutes. That's how long police say it took officers to arrest David Burley from the time he allegedly robbed the Egg and I at gunpoint and ended up at the Starlight Motel.
Police arrested the 32-year-old just after 7:40 this morning. Burley will face 12 robbery charges and 12 charges of possession of a deadly weapon by a prohibited person.
Now, police also arrested 19-year-old Kelly Smith of Central City and 38-year-old Ramon Ford of Grand Island. LPD says Smith and Ford each face 5 charges of aiding and abetting a robbery. Now, the police chief says officers and investigators worked tirelessly around the clock to catch Burley and solve the 12 robberies.
Police say Ramon Ford was helping Burley pick where to rob next and was getting some of the proceeds. LPD says through their investigation, they believed Burley was staying at the Starlight Motel. They were staking out the motel and other places to see what his next move would be.
He did show up shortly after the robbery this morning. Officers observed him in some similar clothing that the robber at the Egg and I was wearing. They went up and made contact with him. Located in a Volkswagen Jetta that he had been driving was a .22 caliber handgun as well as a can of mace.
Now, police say they're still talking to robbery victims and hotels and searching cars.
We've told you about the robberies since the first one back on January 26 at the Howard Johnson Hotel. The robberies are dotted all over Lincoln, spanning 14 days. Each time, police say Burley had his face covered, had a gun. Police say at Sonic, he put an employee in the cooler. And in Russell's Market, LPD had help from the U.S. Marshals and say they almost had him before he took off in the snow.
As for the two that happened today, the first was at 2:48 a.m. at the Motel 6 near 27th and I-80. Police say Burley robbed the employee at gunpoint and took off. Officers called in a K-9, tracking him to a nearby parking lot where LPD says Burley got away in a car. A possible link here, Chief Jim Pashong says Ramon Ford was staying at the motel.
4 hours later, police say Burley struck again at the Egg and I near 70th and A Street. LPD says he came through the back employee entrance and held an employee at gunpoint. Chief Pashong says that gun was loaded. And that's when he got into the safe. Police say he then put several employees in the bathroom and sprayed them with mace. There were 4 people in the restaurant.
Now, the Dairy Queen on 14th and Old Cheney was one of several businesses hit during the crime spree.
And tonight the owner says it's a big relief to know the accused robber is out of commission. Lauren Scott is live at that Dairy Queen with more. Lauren?
Bridget and Owen, this was definitely a terrifying ordeal for the store owner, but even more so for her 2 employees who she says are still very shaken up. Store owner Stephanie Westberg says her employees were locking up for the night when they were greeted by Burley at the front door. You can see in this surveillance video the man's face is covered. He has a gun and forces the 2 employees back into the store, taking their cell phones and wallets. Westberg says he then demanded they take him to the safe. You can see the man point the gun at the employees while they lead him to the back of the restaurant, open the safe, and give him all the cash inside. Then, after 7 terrifying minutes, Westberg says he grabbed the cash and bolted from the restaurant. 1 week later, Westberg says she can finally sleep at night.
Definitely, we're all very happy, feeling a lot safer, feel like we can finally sigh and get some relief. It's definitely a good day.
Since the robbery on January 31st, the Dairy Queen is back to business as usual, but the robber did cause some damage, including ripping the restaurant's phone out of the wall, making it even harder for the employees to call police and get help. Now, in the last week since the robbery, the owner has beefed up security, including having all of these closing employees call her before they leave. They say they never want anything like this to happen again. For now, reporting in Lincoln, Lauren Scott, 1011 News.
All right, Lauren, thank you very much for that report. Well, tonight we also spoke to the owner of TNT Vapors in Lincoln. The business was hit Friday, January 30th. They, too, are relieved by news of the arrest. Dave Jamison says the robber pointed a gun at his employee, demanded cash, took the employee to another room, and took off running.
I'm just glad they caught him, and I'm really glad they did it the right way. I'm glad that, like I said, given the nature of the crime, it could have ended up in a Wild West shootout or something. I'm just glad it didn't and nobody got hurt.
Now, Jamison says his business has only been open for 6 months.
Now, police got tips that eventually led them to the Starlight Motel where they say Burley was staying. People living at the motel say they didn't notice any suspicious activity, but they're just thankful he's caught. 1011's Taylor Barth is at the Starlight Motel with more. Taylor.
Motel employees say David Burley only stayed here at the Starlight for 4 nights. However, people living here have a much different story. I knocked on Dennis Gatch and Betty Castro's doors today. While they were only a few rooms away from Burley, they say they never could have guessed he's the man police say is responsible for 12 armed robberies. The Starlight Motel was a quiet scene Sunday afternoon, but people living there say it was a different sight around 7 a.m.
I heard a bunch of talking, and so I looked out my window, and that's when I saw all the police out here, and there was a officer's car right here, and they had a bunch of bags on top of the car.
Like I heard slamming doors and everything like that, and heard a tow truck backing up. I take it they towed their truck in for evidence or whatever.
Both Betty and Dennis say they had limited interaction with Burley, who they say was in and out of room 9 at the Starlight. Betty says she saw Burley's silver car sitting at the motel for at least a week.
I walked past him the other day when they were cleaning his room and just said hi. He said hi, seemed nice enough, and that was it.
Burlee's neighbors say they never suspected he was an accused crook because he wasn't exactly subtle during his stay.
Kept me up like they were making noise over there and everything, but I figured it was just what you do in a hotel, you know, that type of thing.
Just a lot of partying, you know, a lot of coming and going, and you get that at a place like this, and you never know what it is. And
now both Dennis and Betty say they saw 2 women and a black man visit room 9 where Burlee was staying. However, we do not yet know if those people are connected to the other 2 arrests. Reporting in Lincoln, Taylor Barth, 1011 News.
Well, tonight, 1011 dug into David Burlee's criminal history. Lincoln police say officers arrested him in 2009 on assault charges.
In fact, while police say he was robbing businesses in Lincoln, Hall County court documents show he had a warrant for his arrest in Grand Island.
That stems from a December 10th incident when prosecutors say Burlee had stolen property. He didn't show up for a court date on January 28th, and a judge issued a warrant. He faces a felony and 2 misdemeanors in the case that's still pending. But Burlee's court records date back to 1998 when he was a minor. Some include, in 2005, documents show he pled guilty to theft by unlawful taking. In 2006, court records show he pled guilty to misdemeanor trespassing charges. The same year, it shows he pled guilty to driving with a suspended license and possession of marijuana. He was fined and sentenced to a year in jail. And in 2011, documents say he was charged with viewing a person undressing. He pled no contest and was sentenced to serve 30 days in jail.
If you've missed any of our coverage, head to 1011now.com or our 1011 News mobile app. There you can watch reports and read more about each of the 12 robberies.
Other news tonight, what a difference a week makes. All that snow we were buried under last week is finally melting away, leaving hundreds of potholes in its wake. The city is asking drivers to be patient as they're working on it. Crews are tackling the most dangerous and deepest potholes first, especially on major roads. If you know of some problem potholes that need filling right now, here's what you can do to help get them fixed. Call the street maintenance office or leave a message on the pothole hotline and online through the city's website. The city's policy is to repair your request within 3 business days.
Hundreds of firefighters from across the nation gathered in Kearney, not for relaxation, but to train themselves to better protect you and your family. It's the 25th annual Les Luker Winter Firefighters Conference. Today, Connor Whiteford and many others learned how to control the flow of a fire in a home. Connor drove to Kearney from Chadron to learn new skills to take back to his department.
We're a small rural western community, and learning how like Omaha and Lincoln, Grand Island, bigger cities able to do it, it's pretty interesting to learn back and forth.
The conference provides a mix of both lecture and hands-on training. It's grown from 18 people in 1990 to about 300 this year.
Well, thanks for staying up late with us. Straight ahead on 1011 News at 10, Tim Miles and company need to get back on the winning track. And this week, highly ranked Wisconsin comes to town.
And later, it's ready, set, wait at Cape Canaveral, Florida. A rocket was set to launch at sunset. Why that didn't happen later on.
Spring-like temperatures melted a lot of snow this weekend. That meltdown may mean fog for your morning commute. Forecast details coming up. But first, a look at the Lincoln and Grand Island Weather Almanac.